Okay, this is Straight Up Tekken episode 4, Applying Movement. Now that we have our basic mechanics in order and understand frame data, we can start to understand movement. A basic breakdown for movement is as follows. For side steps, -3 or less is generally always safe. For a mechanical explanation, to my knowledge, the full length of a side step to come out generally takes from 5 to 6 frames, as seen in Tekken 7. Earlier games sometimes had different values on that, but movement was stronger. If you have different information than I do regarding those frames, please drop a comment, as we are all here to learn. For KBD, a concept which we will cover in depth in the next video, you need at minimum 3 frames, but generally you will want at least 4 frames to actually move backwards in any substantial way. As discussed previously, the generic 1 jab is +1 on block in 10 frames, while the generic down forward 1 is from -1 to -3 in 13 frames. When we are talking about sidestepping, we can consider the most common and most logical frames to step at being from +3 to -3. Stepping at +3 is more a decision you make to punish the opponent panicking, such as attempting to do hop kicks to deal with you running them over with lows, or attempting to escape another situation with a high reward, risky option. While at -3, it is done to limit the opponent's options to retaliate even though they are at advantage. From +3 to -3, instead of thinking of the situation as you or the opponent having guaranteed decisions that cannot be challenged, think of it as pressing or mashing not being preferred. Characters such as Lee use their down forward 1 to set up a rock, paper, scissors situation, where jab is launched by FF4. The opponent's down forward 1 loses to 1 jab, and blocking loses to lows such as down back 3+4. On top of the potential to step, backdash, or go for other options. On a character with a -2 or -3 down forward 1, as we know from frame data, at -2, an opponent's jab will be 12 frames from the perspective of the player that is plus, and we only do our calculations for one side. Whichever side of the calculation is faster than the original frames of the move after the calculation wins out, as previously discussed. So then, since we know mashing is slightly not preferred in this situation, since our opponent has one option that will always win on frames, even though it would be low reward, step becomes much more important. So in the case of Dragunov, we could do down forward 1 and a sidestep down forward 2, and if the opponent pressed the down forward 1, we will get our launch. Keep in mind that this is one situation where you would need to decide between going for sidestep block or the launch as you step from minus frames. You should step to defeat a recognized pattern in the opponent's play to condition them to use moves which you can counterplay, such as high homing moves, to change your positioning, or to let the opponent think it is safe to retaliate. There are other uses for step, which we will cover soon, but these are the most common. Lastly, let us quickly cover KBD, or Korean backdash cancel. KBD is a technique that allows you to cancel your regular backdash in the crouch, and then cancel it into another backdash and repeat to make space. It is done with back, down back neutral, and then back. I will not cover learning KBD in this series, although I will cover its correct usage, as there are many excellent resources already available, such as the guide by FDX. But I will say that if you are committed to being good, I recommend learning KBD on a backsway character, such as Paul, Brian, or Nina. That's all for this one. Catch you later, or not.